Good morning. Today we are going to complete our scoring of student essays, which is kind of fun work to evaluate and to assess how these writers did in terms of showing versus telling, vivid word choices. Do they have voice and feeling coming through their piece? And then it's time. And then it's time for you guys to select what is your story moment going to be. These essays are my favorite. Oftentimes my pulse starts to quicken and I get like a nervous death grip on my laptop while I'm reading your piece. And it's exciting because you bring us there. A lot of kids say that this is their best, most effective piece of writing that they've ever written. And so you're going to be choosing a time where you stepped out of your own comfort zone to take a risk, trying something new they've never done before. And there's like an opportunity or a chance of failure, injury. I mean, that's what a risk is. You're just putting yourself out there. So we'll give you a lot of examples of possible story moments. I'll do some storytelling myself. And today's goal is that you can generate an idea for your little memoir, your little personal narrative. So that's our learning target, as well as just continuing to identify great qualities of writing. And then how is this thing organized? Well, chronologically, you have the before the risk, right? All of the inner thought, the tension building up, your actual moment, right? You go bombing down the mountain if you're skiing, you go off the half pipe if you're at the skate park. You actually get up on those skis, whatever it is, and then the ending, whether it was good or bad, whether you were highly successful or it was a belly flop of failure, right? It's okay. That's what risks are. So that's our work today. I'm going to invite you to turn to your scoring essays document that we've been working on the last couple days with Mrs. McCaskey and then yesterday on your Wednesday. So I'll pause, go ahead and find this document, and we have 2 more to really review and talk about together. Meet you in a sec. All right, now that you are here, let's scroll and roll down to essay number 4. Essay number 4 is one that you read on your own yesterday, being a Wednesday. And what did you think? I think this piece is highly effective. There's so many great things. So I'm not going to read the whole thing out loud, but I'm just going to comb through and talk about some of the best qualities of this piece. The writer starts with tension. It was going to be difficult to win the election. I was going up against beautiful, popular Ashley and ingenious, studious Carter. So she sets up right away with, I want this so bad, but yet this gorgeous, popular girl and then this amazing, smart kid, but I want it. So I love the tension that it opens with. She does a great job with showing versus telling. She doesn't say, I was scared, but shivers of excitement mingle with nervous tremors as I thought about my upcoming speech. It was different, as Jenny, my best friend, had mildly put it, right? And then in 5 minutes, I thought, barely listening to Ashley's bubbly speech, I would know. Okay, so she builds in tension. She's got a lot of show versus tell. Her voice is shining through there. Let's take a look at word choice. She has words here like enacted, my perfectly choreographed dance. I turn my boring, low-key speech into a jazzy, funky, spectacular, which is pretty cool. I was still quivering with uncertainty as to how the whole ordeal would go over. Usually, I do not thrive on being the entrepreneur of the middle school world, nor do I live to be in the limelight. Today, though, today was different. Today, win or lose, I would make school history. So she has great sentence fluency. I know she started with an adverb, an ly word here. Earlier, she had a positive Jenny, my best friend. So she has some different types of sentence openers. A few shallow claps echoed through the auditorium, right? I can hear that it's great action. And then, of course, she busts out there and does some kind of energetic cheer. She talks about her heart is pumping, they're leaping, they're lunging onto the stage, they're blasting off, there's clapping, upbeat, whooping audience, grateful for their applause. Vote for me, I shouted. So tons of action in there. And then she ends with a closing. And she did win. And she reflects back on her risk and said, you know what, I took a risk. I was lucky. I made it. And I made a few friends along the way. So she reflects on what did her risk mean to her. So on a scale of 1 to 6, what would you give this thing? I would say some of the best strengths are that it's highly organized. She goes before, the during, the after. She has a ton of voice and heart and inner thought through her piece. High level vocabulary, which is fantastic. Different types of sentence fluency. I would say maybe to zoom in on the heart. You blasted off of this cheer what was your risk actually like? A little bit out there in the moment, on stage, in front of the student body, the action, the lights, some of that. But they gave her a 6, the highest score possible. So we're going to go and we're going to do one more together. And this is very different than a funky, energetic cheer in a jazzy leotard. This is a football essay. So I'm going to read it with you. And I want you to think about, what would I score this piece on a scale of 1 to 6? So this is our final essay, and this is going to be go time. It's going to be your turn, okay? Now, one thing to note, this essay is on a different theme, okay? So far, they've all been on taking a risk. This one is on developing a strength or talent. That was the prompt that the kids were given. And I think that's actually really hard, because when you develop a strength or talent, you don't do that overnight. You do that over time. And so I think to make that a small moment is really hard. So let's just take a look at how this kid did. I tried to zoom in. I'm going to take my face off so I have a little bit more screen and you can see. But you can follow along on your own piece, or you can follow along right in this video. 7, 8, 9, I wheezed as I shoved the barbell into place. Football season's right around the corner, I kept telling myself. It was a muggy July day as I did my weekly exercises in preparation for football. I just finished lifting weights. It was time for my jog. You should have written jog. I could see the quivering waves of heat at the far end of the field as I jogged around the outer edge. People always told me I had a knack for football, but I wanted to get even better. I knew it'd take a lot of work, though. My forehead was beaded with sweat. My tongue felt like a cotton ball. I rested in the empty bleachers, but I knew in 2 months they'd be filled with screaming fans. That'll be the day, I thought to myself, when all this work pays off. Okay, so I like his lead. I like the 7, 8, 9. I wheezed as I shoved, how he starts right away with action. So under your little strengths, you could say, great action-packed lead, grabs readers right away. Plus the action verb, shoved, wheezed, and immediately he's got some inner thought, right? Man, I want to do even better this year. It's going to take a lot of work. That'll be the day, I thought to myself. So his voice is shining through right away. Noticing word choice, not just, it was hot, I was sweaty, but my forehead beaded with sweat. My tongue felt like a cotton ball, right? You know what that feels like when you're working out hard. Cool, let's see what else he does. My summer always consists of training for football season, but I wanted to make this one special. I'd already gone to many camps trying to improve my speed and agility. The beginning of summer, I had a 40-yard dash time at 6.1 seconds. Midway through summer, I bumped it down to a 5.6, so I knew I was getting faster. I was also hoping for my strength to improve. At the cottage we own in Lake Michigan, I'd run in the mushy sand to help my balance. Also, I ran up and down the sandbanks. I tried to eat a lot, but not junk food. I wanted to pack on a few extra pounds before summer's end. As I ran along the lakefront, I saw green trees on one side and the deep blue water on the other side. I knew this was the best place to train. I'd also play catch on the beach with my dad. Go along, he would scream. I kicked up little bits of sand as I pumped my arms and legs, sprinting as fast as I could. I saw that spiraling ball in front of me, and all of a sudden, splash, I was in the lake. Somehow, I managed to hang on to the ball. This'll be a great season, I thought to myself as I shook my hair out like a dog. Okay, when you use like or as, nice little simile, right? I can see him shaking his hair out. That's cool. What part could you really see? Every year, most kids say they can see him sprinting, pumping his arms and legs up and down the beach, and then boom, he lands in the water, sploosh, right? Because he's got sound, he's got onomatopoeia, he's got his dad's voice, go along, right? Kicking up the sand, pumping his arms, so the action verbs, the figurative language makes it really vivid. When I came back to the town in middle August, I had one last football camp before the start of the season. I sprinted at full speed through all the drills, and I got through them with relative ease. I looked around, and everyone else was breathing heavily with their hands on their knees. All that training over summer was helping. I even got a compliment from the head coach of the varsity team who was there. I went home glowing with pride that day. After camp, I still exercised for the last few days before the season. When tryouts came, my heart was beating out of my chest with excitement. This is a day, I thought to myself, when all my training pays off. All right, I will pause, and I want you to put in a few more strengths you notice, an improvement area, and then what are you going to score this thing, right? 1 through 6. A 3 is passing, 6 is the highest. Meet you in a sec. Okay, strengths, I would say. This is organized. He starts kind of before and then during, like training really hard, and then kind of like the aftermath as being ending tryouts. So it's pretty tightly woven, I would say, as much as you can over time with developing a strength. I think he has some good vivid word choices like spiraling, splash, deep blue water, lakefront, mushy sand, agility, screaming with fans, some definite figurative language like a dog, like a cotton ball, splash. Those are some great things. Lots of voice, lots of heart. I would say sentence fluency is a big work on for him. Students usually notice how many times he starts with I. I'd gone to many camps. I was hoping for this. I wanted to pack on a few pounds. I saw the green grass. I knew. I kicked. I also. So I somehow. So once you know better with different sentence fluency, it's hard not to notice that. And so try a participial phrase, dude. Try some adverb openers. Try a couple adjectives. So sentence fluency is a definite work on. I think in the end, he can make that tighter. When tryouts came, my heart was beating on my chest. This is the day when all my training pays off. Okay, well, what happened? And maybe if you put in the actual voice of the head football coach of the varsity team, like, son, that was amazing work out there when you did blah, blah, blah. I mean, that would be really cool to put that dialogue to make it even more vivid. So a high-scoring paper, but not perfect. Definitely some improvement areas. And they gave him a 5. All right, very cool. So we'll be turning this in. You can go ahead and turn this piece in. Although if it's, I think for my kiddos, I think I posted it on the Taking a Risk post. So in that case, you'll just turn it in with your Taking a Risk essay. So I can still look at it whether it's actually turned in or not. No worries there. So this piece, we've traveled through 5 different essays, looked at strengths and weaknesses. Now it's your turn. We're going to be writing about a time in life where we took our own risk. So just thinking about the theme of risk, right? What is a risk? So I'm just going to read to you a little poem. It's called Song of Bravery. And a risk does not mean you had to jump in a burning building to save an old lady, okay? It's just a simple thing where you put yourself out there and you went for something. Song of Bravery. This one's not a sure thing. I'm not bound to win. I don't think I'll ace it this time. I won't break a leg, make my own luck, or reach the stars. The sun is not shining on me today. The force is not strong. Before the day is out, I'll taste the grit of dust. Maybe I didn't do all I could. Or maybe I did, but there were others who did more. Maybe I'll never know. But here I go. Bones clicking quietly together, blood flowing dutifully from heart to hands and back again. Here I go, stepping out through the door of my own shadow into the glare of the arena to face the lions. Joyce Sidman. So I want you to think about a time, you didn't know how you were going to do. You didn't know if you'd reach the stars or you'd ace it or you'd win. But you know what? You went for it anyway. There were others who were good, but you went for it anyway. All right? You pointed mind, body, and spirit, and you dove for it, whatever that risk was. You faced the lions. And so with that, we're going to focus our rest of our time on just generating ideas, choosing a seed idea. With this, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. The piece that we're going to write, it doesn't have to be incredibly long or go on for 10 pages. Most kids write, to do a good job, at least a page, probably a page and a half around that. But you have a before, you have a during, you have an end. And it has to be a small moment. I don't want you to write about your entire summer. The football one, it kind of was. Your risk, your 5-minute moment where you got up on water skis, your couple-minute moment where you were in the woods in your tree stand, you pulled that trigger to shoot that buck, okay? So it's very focused, a specific event, the first time you tried sushi, the time you got up and you sang a solo in choir, whatever that specific special thing is. Memoirs, they show insight into what you learn about yourself or value. So we're going to give you a lot of tricks for how to close, not just, that's it, the end. Okay, we know it's the end because there ain't no more words. But what did this experience bring you in your life? What did you learn about yourself? Was it just fun? Was it exhilarating? Did you taste what you're made of and learn you had more strength than you ever thought? This thing will be organized chronologically. So you'll have the before, building up to it, the tension, the excitement, the actual risk, and then the after. So today we're going to really choose a seed versus a watermelon, okay? Not every time you dropped in on the half pipe at the skate park, but just that first time. You're going to zoom in on the key moment, the heart. I had a kid he was writing about, he made like a little jump in his backyard and he went off it on his skis. And you're going to zoom in on the heart. And when he, obviously going off the jump, how long was he suspended in air? What, like 2 seconds? But he said, from one moment, I dangled from the heavens. For one moment, I was suspended by the gods. For one moment, nothing else mattered, right? So that's cool. You'll include a lot of true, exact moment story details. You're going to create a movie in your mind. We'll work on that tomorrow. We want it to be real vivid, your thoughts, everything you saw, smelled, heard, experienced in that moment. And you'll stay in your point of view so that we get all the goodies, all the inner thoughts and feelings that you had. So I want you to think about possible risks. It could be a trampoline trick. I've had great ones on dirt bike riding, four-wheeler things, snowmobile rides, paintball, high ropes course, zip lining, ding-dong ditching, great longboarding stories, stuff from roller coasters, water slides, pier jumping, getting up, giving a speech, any kind of tryout, whether it was cheer tryouts, volleyball tryouts, going into a haunted house. I've had a ton of good ones on that. Ding-dong ditch stories have been phenomenal. I had a beautiful one on a kid toilet papering his neighbors with the billowing white streamers under the moonlit sky, whatever. Trying a new food, going on a rock wall. So I'm going to pause. I just want you to comb through this and take a think. What are some possible ones? You don't have to write anything down. Just do a little quiet reflecting, and then we'll continue on in just a second. Sometimes people say, oh, I've never done anything cool. I don't have anything. You do. If you're alive, you do. You can go to your writer's notebook and scroll all the way down to your writer's eye, where we put a ton of possible story ideas at the beginning of the year for a time like this. But anytime you've ever tried anything new, that's a risk. You've tried new things, right? You were born not knowing how to do everything. So you had a first time on a water slide, a roller coaster, your first time out there ding-dong ditching, or you didn't know if the people were going to chase you down in the night, right? Your ziplining adventure, the first time you shot that gun, the first time you attempted that backflip on the trampoline. So I'll share a couple of mine. Skiing, one time, I'll share the whole story a little bit, but skiing one, a dance contest, a roller coaster ride, rock climbing, giving a roast. At Mona Shores, we don't just toast our retirees, we give them a roast and publicly humiliate them for fun and good nature. And in the time that my husband, he rented a plane to take me flying, and I was terrified to go up in a plane, this tiny little two-seater plane with him. So those are just some of the different risks that came to mind, right? So I would have to pick one, and I'm going to have to story tell about just that one. And you're going to organize it kind of into the before, the during, and the after. So of all these, I would say the skiing at Cannonsburg one is probably the most vivid to me. It was probably like my second or third year teaching, and it was a big, huge snowy winter, and ski club was rocking, and they were short a chaperone that week. So they're trying to get a staff member to fill in. And my students are, oh, Miss P, you gotta come to ski club. I'd never skied before. Oh, it doesn't matter, Miss P, you gotta go. Okay, so I agreed to go to ski club. So I would probably start my story not in the classroom agreeing to go, not even on the bus on the way to Cannonsburg. I would start probably inching out of the lodge, staring up at that first hill, like close to my big story moment, right? So I remember being there on a gorgeous snowy afternoon with the kiddos, and they're like, oh, Miss P, you don't need poles. None of us learn how to ski with poles, right? You just got to get the feel of it. All right, so I'm not taking poles, right? So I thought I was just going to do this little bunny hill. And like, you can't learn on a bunny hill. You got to go on a big hill so you can get the feel for it. I had no idea what I was doing, right? So I'm just following these kids, right? A sheep led to slaughter. And I was terrified of just this chairlift, right? I thought I was going to be standing there, this thing come whack me in the butt, and I'd face plant in front of everybody. So I remember already grabbing my poles, and I could feel that my legs were just shaking inside of my boot. And I just hopped on this thing and grabbed onto the little dude next to me, and up we went, woo! And we're on the chairlift. I'm looking down, 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 and seeing all these kids just bombing down the hill, having a great time. And I'm like, oh, I have no idea what to do. So the thing dumps us off at the top, and I just stumble forward, and then I'm just kind of like, I don't even have poles, so I'm just sort of like creeping along. I feel like I got like a 100-pound diaper weighing my butt down in my snow pants, and I get to the top of the hill, and I'm just taking this deep breath, ragged, jagged, raspy breaths because I'm terrified, and you can feel kind of the coldness of it burning my lungs, and I'm just shaking inside. And the kids are like, okay, so what you got to do is you got to bend your knees, and then you just go for it, right? And they're trying to explain how to turn, and the little ski poles, they're talking about hamburger, hot dog. I had no idea. But they're like, all right, Miss P, we'll see you at the bottom, and off they go. And I'm like, what the? And I'm just standing at the top of the hill by myself, like hoping, maybe some Aeromed comes and helicopters me off the top of this mountain. So finally I realized, well, I got to get down it somehow. So I creep forward. You can kind of hear the snow, creeping and crunching under my skis. And all of a sudden I just go. And I don't know how to ski. Nobody really taught me. These kids are just a mile away now, laughing their heads off. And so I'm just bombing down the mountain like this, like a pencil, because I don't know how to like bend my knees or turn or slowly, have any kind of control. I'm just going at the speed of like straight down this thing, right? And everything's just like the trees are just these blurry little fuzzy green images. And all of a sudden I see, as rushing up into my view, is there's a little jump at the bottom. And I'm watching these snowboarders just whoop, whoop, go off, like just kind of gentle and real in control. I'm like, oh my, how do I avoid this jump? I don't know how to turn. So I figure I'm going off this thing, right? My first ski run, I'm going off a jump. And all of a sudden I feel my ski tips transition down to up, and whoop, I'm up in the air and I'm suspended, and all of a sudden crash, right? I crash on my back, and my skis pop off, my hat, my mittens. It's a total yard sale. I'm laying there like a piece of roadkill, right? And as I'm laying there, and you can feel just waves of pain radiating in the back of your head, here's some more students on the chairlift. They're passing over me, pointing down like, whatever. Anyway, so I slowly get up and inch my way back to the lodge. So that was my first time ever skiing that risk, total crash and burned. And I learned, never be bamboozled by students. They will lead you astray, right? Don't trust them. You got to try your own thing first and get comfortable. Not always trying to be cool and run with the pack is going to lead to a great moment. So I've humiliated myself with sharing that with you. Your turn. If you go to Google Classroom, Taking a Risk post, you'll find a post called Taking a Risk. If you click on yours, it'll say View Assignment. You will have your own copy. And this little risk essay, what we've created here, it goes real nice. We have just a place for you to generate some ideas. We'll talk about planning a memoir. I put an example in. You'll plan yours right on here. And then below, you'll write this bad girl. There's going to be a rubric and everything you need as well. So this is the one-stop shop for everything you need for our piece. So I'm going to pause and give you a moment to find it. Meet you in a sec. All right. So to get you started, it says generating possible story ideas. And I just put a couple like little dashes there, just some bullets. You can just make a list of maybe 3, 5 possible story ideas that you want. But this little risk is a memoir. It's going to be very focused on one event. You put yourself out there and all of the emotional shift that came with that. And maybe you got a new understanding or realization about life. So risks, they're ventures, they're chances we take. They pull us out of our comfort zone, expose ourselves either to physical or emotional harm. And some risks are successful, others aren't. But they usually lead us to new knowledge, understanding, perfect stories for a memoir. Tomorrow we'll take a look at this student trying to surf for the first time and just sort of how they organized that. And then we'll be getting to organizing yours. But for now, right here, this is the only work you have to do today. I want you to generate a couple different ideas. And then by the end of the day today, you need to highlight the one you want. So come tomorrow ready to go with what is your risk? What is your story idea? All right, go for it. I can't wait to learn what your risk is.